Barber Motorsports Park, one of the most beautiful racing facilities in the world. The crowd has gathered here today to see for the first time the IZOD IndyCar Series and its stars, including the man who has dominated the series so far, Will Power. Race 3 of the 2010 campaign. The IZOD IndyCar Series winds into the roads of Birmingham, Alabama, and Barber Motorsports Park. It's been an incredible comeback story for Will Power. Coming off a horrific crash in 2009, he has dominated the season so far, with back-to-back wins in Brazil and St. Petersburg. Today, he looks for his second consecutive pole on his quest for a three-peat to start the season. The cars and the stars of the IZOD IndyCar Series, right now, from the Deep South. Well, the management here at Barber Motorsports Park has spruced up this facility for IZOD IndyCar qualifying, presented by Pete from Barber Motorsports Park in Birmingham, Alabama. There's a huge museum near the racetrack. Lots of things to do here at this 240-acre facility that today hosts the IndyCars for the first time. Just an absolutely beautiful facility. Hi, everyone. I'm Bob Jenkins, and welcome to the third race of the year. And, of course, the story in the first two has been Will Power. He has won 2 consecutive races, something that no driver was able to do at all in 2009.
How about Will Power? This is for the lead.
Oh, Will Power will look to the inside of Hunter Ray and try to get the lead, and he will.
The Aussie is going to win the 2010 IZOD IndyCar Series season opener, the Sao Paulo Indy 300. A huge win for this young man. Will Power looking for his second win.
When his deal was announced, there were those who said part-time with Penske is better than full-time with some other team. Well, he made the most of that. He's making the most so far of this full-time ride.
He will open the 2010 season with back-to-back victories. The Aussie Will Power puts the Verizon car back in victory lane.
A good start to the 2010 IZOD IndyCar Series. Winning the first 2 races of the series is not unprecedented, but Will Power joins a list of very important race drivers on that list who eventually went on to win the championship. Robbie Floyd is standing by with Will Power.
And Will going for the perfect season this year so far, 2 for 2, but qualifying more important here than maybe at St. Pete or Brazil. Things are good for you. You qualified here in practice. You've done very well last year as well as this year. What is it about this track?
Yeah, I mean, I love this track. Very nice. Like you said, it's all about qualifying here because you're not going to pass, even if someone's a second slower than you. So track positions everything, and, you know, I think it's going to be very tight in qualifying. A lot of people tested here, and there's a lot of people close on times.
Conditions also different, a little cooler today than they were yesterday. How much will that affect you?
Yeah, it's definitely going to change things. I'm hoping that it just gives the car overall grip and doesn't make it too positive, so we'll see.
Big save yesterday. Tell us about that. I mean, it was just practice, but it was a close call.
Yeah, that was the end of practice. I mean, I just, I think the curb caught me as I turned in. I sort of just went a little wide, and yeah, that's not a good place to have a moment, but nothing happened.
Close call as practice. Still have plenty of qualifying to go. Lindy Thaxton?
And Justin Wilson finished second to Will in St. Pete. And Justin, you seem to have really been able to wrap your arms around this qualifying format, often in the Firestone Fast 6. How have you done that?
I don't know, I just enjoy it. I like the knockout format and the fact that you got to keep repeating it time after time, and it's not just a fluke. So I enjoy it. I think it's a good system. You don't get blocked very often, but saying that, that's a kiss of death for today. So hopefully we can stay out of trouble.
What about saving tires? How has that worked for you?
It depends on the circumstances. If you're in Will's position, like he has been so far this year, you could probably get away with saving a set of reds and using them in the fast six to get pole position, whereas everyone else is using them to get into that fast six. So, you know, that's always the dilemma of do you use them up early to make sure you're there, or do you try and save them and risk not making it?
Thank you, Justin. Good luck.
Thank you.
Bob?
Justin Wilson off to a good start in the 2010 season. I'm joined by Robbie Buell and Jan Beekes now. We've talked about the beauty of this place and how great it is for spectators to come here and watch. But what about the track for the drivers? How are they going to race and today qualify?
Well, we just heard from Will Power. He said qualifying, and that's what the drivers have been talking about. The importance of qualifying, because you can't pass around this racetrack. So what we need to look for here in qualifying is what Justin alluded to, is you got to gap yourself. You don't want to get caught out by anybody and have to dump the throttle unexpectedly and wipe that lap time off.
And Justin also mentioned a key word, I think, reds. That's the Firestone alternate tires, higher grip. It's a brand new compound that teams have never seen before. So, Robbie, you have to get a gap, put on tires you've never tried before, and everything, as Will Power said, is on the line today.
This, of course, is knockout qualifying, which means if you're not among the fastest, you're knocked out of qualifying. And only 3 drivers have made it to the Fast Six so far this year. Will Power, Justin Wilson, and Tony Kanai. Back in a moment to Barber Motorsports Park.
IZOD IndyCar qualifying on Versus is presented by Peak Performance Products. When you peak, you win. And by IZOD, the official apparel sponsor of the IZOD IndyCar Series, available at Macy's.
From high above Barber Motorsports Park, 2.3-mile racetrack with 15 turns and a lot of elevation change. And Jan, take us around this place.
Well, Bob, when you talk about a natural terrain road course, it has great elevation changes, but check out the layout. This is one busy racetrack, but it's fast. Lots of high and mid-speed corners. Into turn 5 here, where that red highlight is, that's maybe, if you're lucky, one of the few places you could pass here, if at all. But look at some of these switchbacks and way you have to keep the car through those fast chicanes and up and down. And this is a high G-force, up to 5 Gs in some places. One busy racetrack.
At our first race in Brazil, we asked Helio Castroneves to draw the racetrack blindfolded. Well, we did the same thing for rookie driver Simona Di Silvestro.
So here we go, start, finish. Turn 1, pretty crazy one, downhill in 4th gear. Then turn 2, a long one, long corner, kind of stretches your neck there a little bit. Then fast here to turn 3. Then we're coming hardest braking zone in turn 5 here, down to 2nd gear. Got a little kink here. Then this is a little weird chicane. It's actually pretty fast. It doesn't look really fast, but you know, it's pretty fast. Then coming out of here, kind of bang your head there a little bit because of the curves. Then you have the flat chicane here. It's kind of crazy because we're pretty fast through there. And we go back, turn 11, just one downshift. And then this one has a lot of compression to it, so like you really feel the load of the car. And then here, this is all flat through turn 13. Then here, a little bit of braking downshift for 14. Then just a little lift for 15 here. Won the race. Yeah, well, that's not bad. Things are pretty good for 2 laps in a row, so yeah. So I think I'm going to be fast because of it this weekend. I hope so.
Not bad. That was great. I mean, it was almost like she could see under the blindfold, but she couldn't. Do drivers visualize in their minds the racetrack?
They do, and that's great visualization. And like you say, we thought she was kind of peeking through there. But anytime you leave the racetrack, you want to go back through the racetrack in your mind, and you want to picture where the cracks are, where your breaker boards are, where the bumps are, and what you're fighting. That's what you want to do. And she's also very good talking to her guys about giving feedback, what she wants from the car. And it's not just what she wants from the car. It's the ability to communicate that to your engineers of what you want.
Yeah, we've been told she's a great communicator, but you know what? That doesn't do you much if you're not fast, and it appears as though she's got both.
Absolutely. First round is complete. Let's take a look at the highlights of the first round of qualifying.
In round one, Mike Conway, right off the front, showed his muscle. And Elio Castro-Neves, another showing muscle. And you'll see the significance between those two. They're both on the black sidewall Firestones. That was going to be a key later on. Now, Dan Weldon, near the end of the qualifying group, got into turn number 5, got in here hot, got the brakes locked up. Looked like he might be able to save it. He kept the engine running, but got into the gravel trap and brought out a red. So therefore, Simona De Silvestro, who we just heard from, was sitting on the outside looking in. She had to do 1 lap on the red tires, on hot red sidewall tires, but Dario Franchitti was the first to strike and actually went to the top of the charts while Simona De Silvestro was back fighting for her life. She didn't quite make it and came in 7th and didn't make it to the next group. But boy, the last couple of corners on the red sidewall Firestones just couldn't quite get it done. Now, in group number 2, not a big surprise, but Will Power took his time, put on the black sidewall Firestones, and made a time a half-second quicker than anyone. But a couple surprises. Takuma Sato was flying out there in the Lotus colors. The same also for E.J. Viso. A couple guys that really pushed hard, had some great results. And a person we would expect to be fast here, Justin Wilson, made it through, but only just.
13 drivers are knocked out, 12 advance to round number 2, and here they are, those from the first group, and 6 more from group number 2 will advance to round number 2. And of course, Will Power continues to set the pace. He was quickest in that second group. Will Power will be able to possibly take home a second Peak Pole Position Award here today at Barber Motorsports Park. We'll see how it goes when we come back on Versus.
I'm Dario Franchitti, and this is me uncut. I'm good at really not much. I can drive okay. I'm very bad at tennis. Terrible. In real life, I clean the cat boxes out with the best of them.
In Brazil, Dario Franchitti was the pole sitter, finished in 7th position after leading 29 laps at St. Petersburg. Had a problem on the very first lap and finished in 5th position. He's tied for 2nd in points. Second round is underway, and there's Dario Franchitti. He's carrying blue colors once again this weekend, with Suave being on the side pods. Through turns 11 and 12, coming up here to 13. For those of you unfamiliar with knockout qualifying, it is quite exciting. They are divided into 2 groups, and each of the 2 groups get 15 minutes in the first session. And we boil it down to the Firestone Fast 6, in which we will determine the starting lineup for tomorrow's race. Well, we'll bring in another member of our broadcast team that we haven't seen so far today, and that is Jackaroot with some strategy going on down there.
Yeah, Bob, in addition to the qualifying rules for the Firestone knockout qualifying, remember, all the teams are issued 2 sets of alternate tires. You'll be able to tell them because they got the red sidewalls. Now, most teams feel that they're worth between 5 and 7/10 of a second. So let's take a look at the teams that were able to get through the first round. Wow, this gives a decided advantage, I think, to Elio Castro-Neves, to Mike Conway, and to Will Power. And here is why. Because of the fact that this course is all about, well, not really being able to get a good fast lap unless you're clear. Now you can use those reds in both this session and in the Firestone Fast 6, which determines the Peak Pole Award. But here's what most teams are going to be watching very, very closely. This is not a Motorsports Pac-Man game. This is each of the cars that are out on the course. And what you want to be able to do is you want to make sure that you've got clear sailing in front of you. That's exactly what Dario Franchitti just did to catapult him to the top of this. Lindy?
Well, you might wonder how Ryan and Elio feel about about Will being faster than them all the time. And besides Elio completely joking to me that he'd like to break Will's back again, they actually all get along really well, and they're seeing this as a positive. They're all good friends. And I'm told what it's doing is it's causing Brian and Elio's crews to really look at what they can do and really come together as a full team. Robbie?
Well, in the KB Racing camp, they're happy because it's the first time in 2010 that they've had all of their cars make it to the second round of qualifying. So far, when you talk about the red, the alternate tires, Mario Moraes has used 2 sets. Maybe not used all of them up, but yes, he's gone to 2 sets of reds. But EJ Visu, Takuma Sato, they have only used 1 set. I think these guys are fast. And when we were here for the test about a month and a half ago, to a person, all the big team drivers were saying, watch out for KB Racing. They now be part of the big 3, not the big 2.
We will keep an eye on that. Meanwhile, there is the Lotus sponsored car of Takuma Sato, beautifully painted green and yellow, just like the Lotuses of old.
And his first time for Sato, the first time he got into one of these cars was right here a month ago when we had that test. And right from the get-go, inside of the first 10 laps that he had ever turned in the Dallara chassis, Honda Power, Firestone tires, he was right up into the top 10. So he got acclimated to that cockpit right away. And I just think that shows his level of experience and commitment.
At the top of your screen, you see how things are going so far, with Elio Castroneves the fastest and Will Power currently second.
You know, you talk about power. Let's, you know, as Jack talked earlier about the reds and the blacks, with Power earlier, he set the fastest time of that top 12 on the black tires again. That just is really emphasizing how strong he is.
The Elio Castroneves car comes into the pit area, and everybody is taking a break here to assess what has happened so far. Tony Kanaan has been in both Firestone Fast Sixes so far this year. And moments ago on the course, as he gets set to go back out, here's what happened to Tony Kanaan down into turn number 5. That's where Vitor Meira had a problem earlier and didn't get through there all that well. We'll be back with more peak pole qualifying in a moment.
Welcome back to beautiful Barber Motorsports Park, where some motorsports enthusiasts are calling the Augusta of racing. For IZOD IndyCar qualifying, we're going for the Peak Performance Pole Award today. And fellas, that little hiatus that we had, while it may have been precipitated by Tony Kanaan, here's what I think's happening too. Everybody now knows they've got a benchmark for their alternate tires, or as we call them, the Firestone Reds. Well, what they want to do is they want to make sure that they don't abuse those tires and use them to catapult them into the Firestone Fast Six. So what you've got to be, and I've got the word for the day, in this session, everybody, no matter how quick they are, must be judicious. You understand that, don't you, Robbie Buell?
Sure. but it is, you know, you have these long sweeping corners. You have the 2-3 combination. You have the 13-14 combination. And we really have heard guys say they have to be careful that they don't hurt and abuse, or judicious, on the front tires. How's that, Jack?
But again, something that we brought out many times, you're not necessarily looking to make the fastest lap during this session. Your goal is to get into the top 6 and make the fastest lap in the 3rd round.
But I think it is so competitive that your fastest lap for almost everyone, maybe except for Will Power, you're going to have to do to even get there.
Yeah,
it's not like you got a lot to play with saying, I'm in the top 6 easily. It is so competitive, and really the only person we've seen with a leg up on anyone is Will Power. He might be the one that can hold back, but even he's got to keep his concentration.
Right now, Tony Kanaan is on the outside looking in. He is 7th quick. Wilson 8th, then Andretti, Dixon, Viso, and Moraes, the rest of the 12. On board with Tony Kanaan.
Look at that speed, 161.62 as he turns in flat out to that turn 11-12 combination. Such a fast place. You have to be so precise and smooth with the race car.
Now the timing line is just outside of turn 12.
This is turn 1 that he's heading to. It's either a down...
Tremendous elevation change here. I couldn't believe it.
You fall down into that corner. We don't get a sense of it riding on board with him, but as you go into turn one, you really just fall right down into that turn at 120 miles an hour at the midpoint of the corner.
And I should say, while we're watching this, Mike Conway just shot up to second on the board. And Tony Kanaan will be given some of those numbers because Tony Kanaan is 8th right now on the outside looking in. I mean, there'll be quick radio, but he'll know that he needs more.
And let's keep in mind the time frame on this is about 2.5 minutes left for this session. So now is the time that you really see the jockeying if you're watching a timing monitor and how it just jumps around to make sure you're putting yourself in a position to advance.
Let's check his speed this time. Got a couple of
up to 65,
yeah.
165
He's on
rolling
it.
in.
We'll know in just a second. There's the line. And
didn't make it.
Didn't quite make it.
No.
Oh, there's Mike Conway still pushing.
Kicking up a little dust. Conway started 19th, finished 8th at Brazil, and started 10th and finished 19th at St. Pete.
And this is where it gets so nerve-wracking for the engineers and the strategists on the pit stand. They want their guy to do everything he can, but you just don't know who's going to jump into that top 6 and bump you out of it.
Jack?
Yesterday afternoon, Mike Conway had a very private meeting with Larry over there at his team with Ryan Reinbold. And the first thing that Larry Curry told his charge is, look, Mike, don't be discouraged by the first 2 races. In fact, what we've tried to do here is change the culture. And then he left Mike Conway with one thought. He said, we're going to run you like you're a front runner. And he said, it's important for you to think like a front runner. He said, you can't be out front until you think and gamble that way. I think that's what he's basically doing right now.
Meanwhile, there is the Justin Wilson car, normally with the Z-Line designs on the side pod, but this week with Charter there. Justin Wilson is not in the top 6. He is currently 10th.
Where Justin, I was standing on his pit stand in St. Pete, since we weren't in the booth there, guys, is he has an incredible ability. Justin wants to know what the time is out on the racetrack. What have other guys done? And he wants that information because he feels as though he can just add a little bit more. Sato. A little sideways. But Justin wants to know what time he has to shoot for, and he judges his pace off of that, which is really incredible.
Well, we don't see Franchitti or Kanaan or Briscoe in this top 6. And time is drawing nigh here for the checkered flag.
So the guy that everybody's chasing, Power is 3/10 clear of P2.
The checkered is out.
And that would be a shock for Briscoe because they can obviously share settings amongst the Penske teammates. And when you have Will Power that dominant, that was the checkered flag just coming out on Tony Kanaan, who's on the outside.
Tony did not advance. How about Dario? He's currently 7th quick. And he did not make it. Justin Wilson among those not in the top 6.
And that's right, that picture looking at turn 13 there, that is where the timeline.
Wilson also didn't make it. These are big names not making the top 6.
No kidding. Ryan Briscoe is still on course and has a shot at it, and he did not make it. So it's Power, Andretti, Castro Neves, Conway, Sato, and Dixon.
Wow.
Your Firestone Fast 6.
Look at you just saw one at a time. Nope, didn't make it. Didn't make it. Didn't make it. And these were big name guys you would expect to be there.
Wow. Jack, a bit of a surprise here with Ryan.
Well, it's got to be a bit of a disappointment in this team because, let's face it, Ryan Briscoe has failed to make it to a Firestone Fast 6 in the first 2 races. He failed in Brazil, he failed in St. Pete, and now he's gone for the 3-peat. He has failed to matriculate forward, as they used to say in football. And here's the problem. You look, guys, at a Will Power, and you see what he's been doing, and you look at someone that competed really earnestly for the IZOD IndyCar Series Championship last year. And if I am this man, Ryan Briscoe, I'm scratching my head right now. And Robbie and Jan, I think I'd be going over to the engineering trailer and wanting to see some of overlays from Power.
Well, Jack, they can definitely see that data, but not all data transfers from driver to driver because they have different styles. But I agree with you.
Here are the drivers who advanced: Power, Andretti, Castroneves, Conway, Sato, and Dixon. A little bit ago, we told you that there were 3 drivers who had been in both Firestone Fast Sixes so far this year. Tony Kanaan was one of them. He didn't make it here. And one of the other ones was Dario Franchitti, and he didn't make it. The only one with the record still clean is Will Power. We'll be right back. Peak Full Performance Qualifying for the IZOD IndyCar Series at Barber Motorsports Park in Birmingham, Alabama. We're set for the Firestone Fast Six session. First of all, we go down to Lindy Thaxton.
As Will Power sits here in his car behind me, he has to be feeling pretty good. In the second round, he was on fresh reds. He used those. He came in, and he is now on his second set of fresh reds, this time going up against Penske teammate Helio Castroneves. By the way, the number 6 car, Ryan Briscoe, who is not in this round, we heard his engineer tell him, sorry, buddy, I let you down out there. Robbie?
I had a good feeling Marco Andretti was going to have a good week, at least as far as qualifying was concerned. Yesterday, he was, I don't want to say optimistic, he just wasn't as pessimistic as he is sometimes when you hear him talking over his radio. Yesterday, he said the car had pretty good balance, but the one thing he knew that he was going to have to do is make adjustments throughout the day. They come in here, look like they made another adjustment. They have the tires off. They're actually having, instead of tire warmers, they have tire blowers. They're trying to cool down those last set of red tires, the alternates, so they can make it for this last Firestone Fire 6, Jack.
So, Robbie, who has a clean sticker set of Firestone alternate tires, the Firestone Reds? How about Will Power, who thus far has just been on top in every session? Power's got the set no one else does. But it's not necessarily about having a set of sticker Reds in the Firestone Fast 6. I'm going to go back to what, in as short a period of time as this is, the one thing that we want to do is we want to be able to make sure that we've got some separation around the racetrack. Meanwhile, if you're our Taku Sato, you've got to just be so happy that you're into the Firestone Fast 6. Take a look at what happened during that knockout session number 2 for the Lotus driver. Coming down through the corner, gets a little sideways, and he saves it. And in fact, doesn't abuse the tires. That's one of the things the drivers are telling me, is you get a lot of side bite, Bob. Basically what you've got is you got a little sliding going on out on this racetrack. It's still pretty adhesive.
Indeed it is. Let's take a look once again at the Firestone Fast 6 drivers who will go for starting positions. Scott Dixon will be in his 19th Firestone Fast 6. Takuma Sato, rookie driver, makes it. Mike Conway, second-year driver for Brian Reinbold, is in the Fast 6. Helio Castroneves will be in his 20th Firestone Fast 6. Marco Andretti will also be there, and Will Power will be in his 10th Firestone Fast 6. Welcome back to Barber Motorsports Park, and you can see the Indy Grand Prix of Alabama tomorrow at 3 Eastern here on Versus, the third race of the 2010 season. Can Will Power continue his streak? Join us at 3 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. There are only a couple of grandstand areas here at Barber Motorsports Park. Most people bring their lawn chairs and their blankets and park themselves under a shade tree. And there are many areas that you can see a great deal of the racetrack from those areas. All right, let's take a look at some of the things that have happened since we talked with you last. Bertrand Baguette is now joining Conquest Racing. He's in the race this weekend. Graham Rahal will have another race with Sarah Fisher at Long Beach. Ed Carpenter is going to run the Indianapolis 500. Panther and Vision Racing are going together for that effort. John Andretti is going to run Kansas and the Indianapolis 500 for Andretti Autosport with some help from the King, Richard Petty. And Bruno Junqueira also has a ride for the month of May with the Fast Race team and will be teammates with Alex Tagliani. Okay, here we go. Mike Conway makes his way onto the racetrack. Helio Castroneves is already there, and there are the 6 drivers once again in this session. Jack?
We talked about the fact that Will Power had a sticker set of reds. Well, guess who was keeping a set back, and it got by me and got by everybody? This guy that you're looking at right now. Larry Curry just told me not only does he have a sticker set of reds, but they're not on the car right now, fellas. What they're going to try and do is hold them back and see if they will need them, which most likely they will, in the final moments of this round 3 Firestone Fast 6 knockout.
That's an interesting strategy to hold back those sticker reds, because I saw Power had his sticker set on, so he wasn't going to hold back. Remember, you only have 10 minutes to get that done, and obviously you've secured being in the top 6, but this is for bragging rights as who's going to be on the pole and who's going to be next to him on the front row.
I like that strategy, because then he should know the number he has to shoot for, because if Will Power is going to roll out on his stickers, he'll set that time. Then when Conway comes back, I mean, but we all assume that that number is going to be big for Will Power, but at least he'll know what he's shooting for.
But don't you just run as hard as you can anyhow? I don't need to know a number. I'm going to go out and go as fast as I can anyways.
Yeah, I still like to know the number. I like to see on the dash. If you look on the dash and you find out you're a 1/10 of a second away from Will Power, that's amazing motivator to really hang it out in a couple corners.
Yeah, you're just saying, so as that driver's doing that lap, it's giving him a plus minus to what he has to hit.
Correct.
Not for a final tap line, but as he's laying that lap down.
Right.
Understand.
Mike Conway will have his best start for 2010. His best prior to this weekend was 10th at St. Petersburg. He will start no worse than 6th.
You know, we talk about the advantage of having the sticker red Firestone alternate tires. Remember, everybody has the red tires, but these tires, you know, the word we've used is kind of a sweet spot. When you go out on the sticker tires, the first, say, anywhere from the 2nd to the 5th lap of those tires, that's when they have the most grip. That's when they are in that sweet spot. And that's why I say it's so important to have the sticker reds. Once you use a setup and you've already kind of put a heat cycle in them, you've lost that ultimate sweet spot for that maximum grip.
Now let's see, we saw 165 for Tony Kanaan on a maximum speed. Let's see what we get here. Close. That was a 63. And Will Power hasn't really started. This could be here, the start of a real hot one.
He crosses the line and goes to P1.
But now that time that he just laid down, 1:10.5, he went 3/10 quicker earlier on the Firestone black sidewalls.
But now he's on it, though. Will Power, that was the beginning of what he's, and you can see the pushing behind by teammate Castro Neves trying to keep up with Power. Whoa, baby, I can't hold it in turn 2.
And now he's just backed off.
And guys, he backed off because Tim Cindric told him to back off. He said, you can't abuse those tires that way. Now, give him a chance to breathe. And reluctantly, Helio Castroneves has done precisely that.
Helio's best start this year was at St. Petersburg, a 5th.
But you can see when Helio, a seasoned veteran like him, he's got to say, hey, just let those cool off and then lay down a lap. You can't give up anything as tight as this all
This is a big one right here. He has got a great lap going right now. He may shave 3/10 off of this time.
And we should see it right there.
Oh,
so that's
10-1.
1:10.1 from 1:10.5.
Wow. That's setting the mark.
Throwing down the gauntlet, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
But we see how competitive it is. And for a guy like Cindric having to say, Helio, okay, just back it down, cool it off. But I think that's what shows how exciting it is. I mean, who would have thought that we would have seen maybe Marco and, say, Sato in this group? You know, that just shows how competitive, and one little hiccup can take you in or out of the top 6. You can think, oh, I'm sitting good, I'm in that 5th spot, and then before you know it, you drop down in your P11.
Marco Andretti started 6th at St. Petersburg, really drove a good race, at least in the beginning of the event, wound up in 12th position. So I think we're seeing a bit of a comeback season here for Marco.
And on the beginning of this weekend, there was a little bit of grumbling that, oh, well, you know, our team, we're pretty good on street circuits, but we haven't figured out these permanent road courses. Well, something happened between Friday and Saturday because they made a big jump from session 1 to session 2.
But in the mindset, though, of Marco, you know, going back to that test when we were all here, he said, I'm very happy with just where it all is. And he said, we're just getting back to the basics. We're not trying to find the silver lining. We're just going to focus on the basics and the driving.
Who's the guy with the yellow ears standing next to you, Jack?
That's the guy that is a teammate to Marco Andretti that we've been talking about. Tony Kanaan will start tomorrow in the 4th row. TK, let's talk for a moment, though, about the change in Marco. Do you see it when you're around him, that kind of killer instinct that he's exhibiting now, because he wants one bad?
No, for sure. I think, you know, as a team this year, we're working a lot better together between me, Ryan, Danica, and Marco. And this weekend, we were pretty competitive. We went one way in qualifying. Marco went the other way to try to cover the basics, and it worked really well for him. And you know, he's definitely, he wants it bad. And right now, I think you know, he has it.
Let's talk a little bit about the fact you did go the wrong way in that session. So now you qualify at mid-pack. Do you go back to what you had before, or what sort of changes will you make for the race?
I mean, we're starting 8th, and you know, the wrong change that we did, we lost a 10th, and that's actually what it took us out of the fast 6. So it's not, you can't get desperate. I mean, a 1/10 of a second in a 14-corner track, it's nothing. So we're just going to go back on that change. We do have a good car. It's going to be a tough race for sure, especially as far as passing. So we're just going to have to go with the flow and try to have good stops. But I have to say, you know, we were so close. I mean, the field, it's really exciting. This year's been very exciting.
I got to tell you guys, he is one of the drivers that's part of the Twitter nation, and he twitters both in Portuguese and in English. And you keep it up, and I think I might be able to acquire a little Portuguese.
I was going to ask Twitter to give me 240 characters, 280 instead of 140, because I have fans in Brazil that complain about my English and fans in America. But I'm glad actually you finally got to Twitter. So, you know, just join us, follow us, and well, I have a lot of fun there for sure.
Yeah, you do, guys.
It's too much work for me. Takuma Sato, currently 5th. He just jumped up from 6th.
Isn't it interesting to hear Kanaan say, hey, I have a good race car, and it was just that 1/10 on a 15-turn course, 1/10. What is that? You know, you have to be realistic of saying, okay, you know what? But that's the difference of potentially being up in 6th and all the way back.
Smoked him there a little bit.
Anytime you're turning and braking at the same time, it unloads that inside wheel. It's really easy to lock them up. And it's very difficult. There you go.
Yeah.
Right on cue. It's very difficult, Robbie, a lot of times to get it rolling again once it's locked up.
And the problem then, too, is once you get that left front that locks up, sometimes you get a little flat spot on it. So when you challenge the next brake zone, you always come back to that flat spot, again, locking it up then.
Elio Castro-Neves currently is 2nd. His last pole was at the 2009 Indianapolis 500. His last pole on a road course was at Infineon Raceway in Sonoma, California in 2008.
So let's just go back to the gauge here, Jan. You know, I see that Will Power has a half a second on Elio, a half a second on a road course. I mean, usually, again, you know, we just heard TK say, oh, it was a 10th that took me out of it. And Power's got, you know, 5/10.
Now, Mike Conway on this lap is running faster than his previous best. So it may not be enough to gain him a spot, but it's the fastest lap he has run if he keeps these splits going in this session. Here he comes. Oh, he goes to P2.
P2, front row.
Picks it up. Nice job, Mike.
Very impressive.
So the 2 sticker red tires that were held back that Jack talked about and said, hey, that's part of the strategy. The guy's kind of sitting in the catbird seat. Sure enough, that's looking good right now.
He is 7 thousandths of a second faster than Castro-Neves.
And he has a good start to this one as well. I don't think he's
So
can
he chip into that half a second that Power has?
I think he can chip, but half second's pretty comfortable.
Marco's watching from the sidelines, and so is Will Power. Marco currently 4th, and Will with a half-second advantage on everybody. Down into turn number 7. Right there is an interesting area of the racetrack, because not only are you turning in both directions, but you're going downhill, and you feel like you're going to fall on your nose.
and once you get to the bottom of that corner and you turn, that goes Larry Curry, just the team manager for DNR there, looking on. Glasses in an interesting place.
Like those, you know.
Alongside with my partner there, Dennis Reinbold, and the race with Ryan Reinbold.
Conway comes in.
And what do we got left on the clock there, Bob? Looks like 15 seconds.
Yeah, now 10. Scott Dixon, the only one on course. He is 5th fastest. Gee, it's good to see some faces in the Firestone Fast Six that we haven't seen for a while, like Mike Conway, or at all for that matter, Takuma Sato. Now Dixon is going to get the credit for this lap.
Notice the color of the sidewalls. He is on the black sidewall tires.
I mean, actually, Zalola has a faster split for him. He's on a lap that's an improvement for him, even on the blacks.
Turn 6.
This is that 7-8 combo you're talking where you're hard on the curbs. But what the key to this car is right there, back to the power, because once you come off there, you come off of turn 8, you're flat out all the way through these S's, 130 miles an hour as they turn to there, flat out, 6th gear right as you come off that. And then this is the 11-12 that you get up to the top speed of about 165.
He's going to improve a little bit, but it will leave him in 5th place. He doesn't quite have enough for Marco. So Dixon stays 5th.
Yep. Will Power does it again. 2nd Peak Pole Performance Award of the year. Mike Conway will start in 2nd position. His best start ever in the IZOD IndyCar Series. His best previous start 6th at Watkins Glen in '09 and also in Toronto. Elio Castro-Neves will start 3rd. And starting 4th will be Marco Andretti. Robbie Floyd's with him.
Usually having a tough start to the year, but you're in the top of the Firestone Fast 6, qualifying 6th today. I thought you might be happy with that, but far from it when you got out of the car.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you always hope for the pole, but obviously we gotta set realistic goals. I think we're still making progress. That's a good thing. We just have to keep working at it and hopefully just keep making small gains. I mean, we can't expect to set the world on fire right away.
I talked about how you were somewhat happy yesterday. The car balance seemed to be there. Did it feel as good today, and maybe you just ran out of reds earlier than you wanted to?
Yeah, I mean, it looked like, well, I mean, Will's been fast all weekend, but it looked like he was able to conserve his reds in the 2nd session when we really had to use them. So, he had some fresher tires, but he was strong all weekend anyway. But, yeah, I mean, the reds kind of just drop off that little bit. I mean, if you catch a little traffic or, you don't get the tire pressure just right, I mean, that's what happens.
Well, a starting position is very important here. On this course, you have to be aggressive early on, or do you just play that waiting game and just play it safe until the end? What's your thoughts going in?
Well, I mean, you got to try to pull the time out of the car to see what it's going to give you. I've been having a lot of fun because now we could at least taste it. So at least we can try to make something happen from here. Absolutely.
What's your concern about the other cars, with the Grand Am cars throwing different rubber on, and then you're going to be out there tomorrow with a different feel than it is today? How do you make those adjustments?
Same for everybody, but I don't know. I mean, that's a good question. I mean, we're going to have to look at that, but the problem is you can't. It's hard to predict. Unfortunately, maybe just hang on the first stint, and then hopefully it'll come to us.
Bob Jenkins, he said the key today was to make those adjustments. He made them, and he qualifies in 4th spot.
Yep, good performance for Marco Andretti. Mike Conway will start in 2nd spot, and Will Power will be on the pole. We will talk with both of those drivers when we return to Barber Motorsports Park here on Versus.
IZOD IndyCar qualifying on Versus is presented by Peak Performance Products. When you peak, you win.
And our congratulations to Will Power, who after knockout qualifying has won today's Peak Performance Pole Qualifying Award. Here is Lindy Thaxton.
And Will Power getting his trophy and his check for his 2nd pole of the season, his 4th pole in the IZOD IndyCar Series. Will Power, tell me, in the first few rounds, were you pushing with all you had, or were you able to kind of hold back?
Yeah, I just haven't, pushed my limit yet. In qualifying, obviously, in those laps to get the pole, I have to push pretty hard, but just keeping it mistake-free, and, just really happy for the Verizon guys to be behind me and doing a good job for their first full season.
Your teammate Briscoe didn't even make the Firestone Fast 6. There for a time, you were half a second faster than Elio. Where is this speed coming from?
it's just, you know, good teamwork, and, you know, it's the first time in my career I've been in a really good team and had security, so, you know, everything's working well.
You're first in all the practices yesterday, first today, but does that matter tomorrow?
Yeah, well, that's true. I mean, it's going to, you know, going to be people go off strategy, so you can end up in a, you know, you can end up back in the pack if the yellows fall the wrong way for you. But, you know, we're doing everything right, and we just got to, you know, just keep it mistake-free. If we can't win, we'll get the points. So that's our plan.
Will Power in the #1 spot going into tomorrow's race. Robbie?
Well, the Dry and Reinbold Racing roll coater machine this week, starting on the outside of row 1. And it has to feel good. Your best ever qualifying position. It was a 5th at Toronto last year, your best performance. But how did it feel out there on the track to finally get it done that well?
Yeah, good. I mean, we seemed to go through quite comfortably in the first part of qualifying, and then able to save a set of reds for the end. So, yeah, I mean, really happy to be in sort of the fast 6 at that point, and then, yeah, to get P2 is great. You know, that's my first front row start, and you know, we've got to make the most of it. It's been a good year so far. We had some ups and downs a little bit, but you know, really want a strong finish here, and you know, it's going to be tough holding on to Will. He's been quick all weekend and obviously all year, so.
You were one of the most aggressive drivers at St. Pete. I was watching you mid-part of the race, just plucking drivers off one at a time. You only have one to get by. He's got to be a little nervous knowing you're next to him going into turn 1.
Maybe, yeah, but, you know, it's a long race, 90 laps. You don't want to lose it all the first corner. But, yeah, you know, pushing for the win, obviously, and want the best result possible.
Jack Carew?
Well, he started 9th in Brazil, 5th in St. Pete, and now he moves up to 3rd, and you put your visor on the more, and all you see is your teammate, Will Power, has been clubbing everybody.
Yeah,
How do you beat him?
It's a good question. I mean, so far nobody be able to do that. He's been extremely fast. Certainly a different technique that I've seen so far. And
how so? What do you see in the way he drives, Elio?
Well, he seems to be using the left foot. You know, other drivers might. I don't. I think Ryan and I are the only ones still using the right foot. And actually, when he brakes, he's still actually on the power. So it's kind of like a very weird situation, but. Well, we gotta find a way, you know. But certainly it's great for Team Penske, you know, to be up there. It's not great for the championship because certainly the guy that's leading the championship, it's starting in front of us. So, well, everything can happen. It's the first race here. I can see that the fans, look at that. This is incredible. So it's going to be a great show tomorrow.
And guys, there is no truth to the rumor that has already started circulating that he and his teammate Ryan Briscoe are going to tie Will Power up and put him in the trailer for the start of the race.
All right, here is the grid for tomorrow's Indy Grand Prix of Alabama. And while you're looking at this, we want to make sure that you're tuned for our Versus IndyCar Central program preceding the race, because Will Power doesn't get that excited very often. You're wondering, what kind of a guy is he? Well, you will learn because we have a really good profile of him in our pre-race show tomorrow. There are 9 through 16 in the starters, as Justin Wilson was a bit of a disappointment starting back in 11th position, and Ryan Hunter-Reay will start from 14th spot. 25 cars in the race this weekend. Danica Patrick will start back in 19th position, and Milka Duno and Bertrand Baguette in his very first IZOD IndyCar Series start will go from 25th. So we have seen qualifying. We know a little bit more about the racetrack and about who's going to be starting where. And now we look forward to tomorrow when they drop the green flag and see how things go at this beautiful facility, Barber Motorsports Park. Coming up next, PBR Encore. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for the Indy Grand Prix of Alabama at 3 o'clock Eastern Time. For more information on the IZOD IndyCar Series, go to Versus.com. Congratulations to our peak performance winner. Starting from the pole tomorrow, Will Power. I'm Bob Jenkins. We'll see you tomorrow at 3 o'clock Eastern.